On the west coast of New Zealand's South Island, there is a community of roughly 650 people. They share everything: housing, income, identity. Gloriavale Christian Community was founded by Neville Cooper, a man who renamed himself Hopeful Christian after serving prison time for sexual offending. His followers didn't know that, or if they did, they were taught not to question it. Gloriavale operates on a principle of total submission to male leadership. Women are assigned names like willing, faithful, steadfast. Children are educated exclusively within the compound. Teenagers are matched for marriage by elders. The community is economically self-sufficient, which means leaving with nothing. No savings, no employment history, no recognized credentials. Former members describe the moment of departure as standing in a world they were never taught to navigate. Several former members have now filed criminal complaints. The New Zealand government has launched formal investigations. What is being examined is not unusual theology. It is the systematic removal of every exit. This was episode 17. On the west coast of New Zealand's South Island, tucked between the Paparoa Range and the Tasman Sea, is a community that most New Zealanders have never visited and most of the world has never heard of. Gloriavale Christian Community has approximately 650 residents. They share housing, income, and labor. Their children are educated within the community. Their marriages are arranged by elders. Their names reflect the virtues they are expected to embody. It presents, from the outside, as an unusually committed expression of Christian communal living. What former members describe from the inside is something more specific: a system in which every structural feature of daily life functions to make leaving feel impossible. Gloriavale was founded by a man who renamed himself Hopeful Christian. He was born Neville Cooper. In 1995, he was convicted in New Zealand of indecently assaulting young women within his congregation. He served time. Upon his release, he returned to leadership of the community. Most Gloriavale members were not told about the conviction. This is not incidental context. The founding leader of a community built on absolute submission to divinely appointed male authority had a documented history of sexual offense, and that history was systematically concealed from the people whose submission he relied upon. Cooper died in 2018. Leadership passed to a group of senior men. In Gloriavale, surnames are replaced by a shared community name: Christian. First names are assigned based on spiritual qualities. Women are given names like willing, faithful, steadfast, helpful, content. Men receive names like fervent, courage, integrity. This is not merely cultural. Naming is one of the most fundamental acts of identity formation. The name you carry is the continuous thread of your history, your family, your individuality. When a community replaces all names with assigned virtue labels, it performs a specific function. It replaces individual identity with role identity. You are not a person with a history. You are willing. You perform willingness. Your name is your instruction. Gloriavale operates as an economically self-sufficient community. It runs farms, a bakery, and various commercial enterprises. Members do not receive wages. They work for the community and receive housing, food, clothing, and care in return. This arrangement framed as biblical communalism, produces a specific structural outcome. Members accumulate no personal savings, develop no independent employment history, and build no financial identity that exists outside the community. When someone decides to leave, or when they are expelled, they have nothing. No money, no bank account, no work history that external employers can verify, no professional references, no credit history. They enter the outside world with the practical resource profile of someone emerging from long-term incarceration. Several former members have described standing in a supermarket after leaving, paralyzed by the number of choices on a shelf. That is not metaphor. That is the documented cognitive effect of leaving a total institution. Children in Gloriavale are educated entirely within the community using curriculum developed and delivered by community members. They do not sit national, standardized examinations that would produce externally recognized credentials. They do not have contact with peers outside the community. When they reach adulthood, which the community defines as occurring quite young, with marriage and full labor participation expected in the mid to late teens, they have no qualifications, no external social network, and no experiential frame of reference for what life outside Gloriavale looks like. For a child born into Gloriavale, leaving is not a matter of choosing between two options. It is a matter of choosing between the only world they have ever known and a world that is functionally foreign. Former members describe a system of oversight in which personal behavior, including private speech, interpersonal relationships, and expressions of doubt, is subject to correction by community elders. Discipline is framed as pastoral care, the loving correction of a soul drifting from God's will. Dissent in this framework is not intellectual disagreement. It is spiritual failure. And spiritual failure is both a personal shame and a communal concern. The surveillance function of this framing is total. When everyone is responsible for everyone else's spiritual condition, privacy becomes impossible. Doubt cannot be held quietly. It must be disclosed, confessed, and corrected. Beginning in the late 2010s, a wave of former members came forward with accounts of physical abuse, sexual abuse, and labor exploitation, particularly involving children and young women. New Zealand authorities conducted investigations. Several former leaders faced criminal charges. In 2022, the New Zealand Employment Court found that Gloriavale members were employees under New Zealand law, entitled to minimum wage and standard employment protections, and had been denied those rights. The ruling was significant. It established that communal theology does not exempt a community from employment law. What makes Gloriavale distinctive in the landscape of high-control communities is how ordinary its control mechanisms appear when examined individually. Communal property, present in many religious traditions, distinctive dress, practiced by numerous groups, internal education used by many communities, male leadership authority, doctrinally common across denominations. The control in Gloriavale is not produced by any single element. It is produced by their combination, and by the fact that the combination creates a closed system with no viable exit. That is the diagnostic criterion. Gloriavale continues to operate. It continues to welcome new members. Its existing members, many of whom were born there, continue to live within its structures. Former members who have left describe a process that typically takes years. Reconstructing financial identity, learning to navigate bureaucratic systems, forming relationships outside the community, and, perhaps hardest of all, learning to make decisions in the absence of an authority that tells you what to do. That last piece is the one that doesn't get discussed often enough. Total institutions don't just control behavior, they atrophy the capacity for self-direction. Rebuilding that capacity after a lifetime of having it managed by others is a specific kind of work. It is also possible. This was episode 17 of the Mind Control Archive.